Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Daniela. I am a Section 2 GAMSAT tutor and now medical student at Deakin University. I am super excited to be making this video because I absolutely love exploring ideas when it comes to Section 2, and hopefully you find a little bit of inspiration and confidence when you come to be responding with your essay. So let's get into it, and before we work on it together, I really encourage you to pause the video and have a go at your own ideas, take some notes, and let's get into it. Okay, everybody, I hope that was an enjoyable read. I'm going to be direct. I actually thought this was a little bit harder to generate ideas and examples, but I hope we can agree that the theme is about youthfulness, or more specifically, the transition between being young and growing up. It's that comparison about being young and older. So youthfulness. You do not need to respond to every single idea. However, you do have to respond to a couple, and you definitely have to stay within the frame of the theme. If you don't, you may as well throw the essay away, because you're not going to get many marks if you miss the theme completely. So let's start with the first one. The belief that youth is the happiest time is founded on fallacy, which is calling it a lie. Now, the way I'm looking at that, wow, contradictory. You know, we have this image, well, a lot of us have this image that being young is the best time of your life. Your 20s is amazing. Being a child is a lot of fun. Of course, this isn't true for everybody, but we can talk about that. We can talk about the concept of youth and happiness being wrong. Okay, and then you here can implement your opinion. Next, you can say, the happiest person is the person who thinks the most interesting thoughts. Now, that's quite important because it is talking about emotional growth. How can you have a lot of thoughts if you're stubborn, if you're irrational, if you don't allow yourself to be insightful? So when you're young, you might be considered more stubborn or emotionally irrational. And growing up may allow you to expand your mind. Okay, so if you are less stubborn, then you will be more capable of perspective, more capable of being open-minded. And having open-mindedness may therefore make your life struggles feel a little better in some way. So without getting too much into it, you can definitely talk about the emotional growth here of growing up. The second one is super interesting because it jumps from 14 to 20, a very short 7-year gap. It's only 7 years. So how can we have such growth? Again, similar to the previous one, it is really touching on that idea of emotional growth. But what you can do here, you can have apply a reflective element. You can talk about your relationship with your family, how you view the world as you age. Maybe you're a parent. So there's all these things that you can now implement that will allow you to there's all these things you can talk about that will allow you to have that reflective element if you choose to do so. You don't have to. I personally didn't. I didn't ever write a reflective piece. But if you do, this is where you can talk about it. There's so many things that you can explore about emotional growth, but I really want to talk about this one because that's what struck me. So this third one, the young suffer less from their own errors than from the cautiousness of the world, give me a lot of ideas, right? We've got parenting, culture. Okay. So I grew up from a Middle Eastern ethnic background, and there was a big culture of protection, especially when it came towards the women. And unfortunately, this level of protection prevented a lot of girls from experiencing the world and developing themselves. So I would actually talk about overprotectiveness and the dangers of that. So, overprotective parenting and the prevention of personal growth, happiness, and individuality. So, why would I talk about that here? Because it's saying the young suffer less from their own errors than from the cautiousness of the world, meaning that the overprotectiveness is preventing the young person from experiencing life. And that's something I would talk about. I would relate it to the examples of the Middle Eastern cultures and how that can hinder emotional growth. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and reference any psychologists you might know of, reference psychologists. I really like the philosopher Alain de Botton. I reference him quite a bit. But the point I guess I'm trying to make is that when I include an example, it's going to work for me. It's not going to just be there to allow interest or show that I'm intelligent. It's going to work in my favor. So moving on to the final one, not the final one, second to final one. It's better to waste one's youth than do nothing with it at all. Almost seems synonymous at first glance. Isn't wasting and doing nothing the same thing, right? To me, that doesn't immediately click with me. But if I allow myself to think a bit further, we can quickly see here the connotations of what does someone do when they waste their youth. Partying is considered wasteful. Traveling instead of buying a house is wasteful. Gaming, a lot of gaming, or just doing hobbies. Return. Those are all considered wasteful. And if you consider wasteful, sorry, in today's definition, you can talk about that connotation and go how you can disagree. If you wanted to even more, you can break this up into hedonism, right? You can talk about how wasting your life through hedonistic pursuits is not actually wasteful. You can talk about it in that perspective. I'm not saying I personally agree with this motto. I'm just saying it's that kind of ideas that are spurring to mind when I read it. And doing nothing at all means you're doing nothing for yourself, right? So you can talk about how wasting and enjoyment is better than being doing nothing and not being happy. So that's an idea that comes to me, and I could easily write a paragraph. All right, a majority of young people seem to develop a mental arteriosclerosis about 40 years before the physical kind. This one is a bit hard for me to kind of jump off of, but if it's something that resonated with you, we could definitely talk about potential stress, right? That the youth of our generation have a lot of pressure on them, and therefore their mind begins to deteriorate of the mind. Or you can say that take the opposite perspective. Arteriosclerosis is the narrowing or the limiting of area in a vein or a vascular structure. So you could even take the perspective of a narrowing mind. So you can go, people seem to have a mental block when they're younger instead of when they're older. So that younger people, and going back to the first comment, younger people may be a bit more narrow-minded. Oh, I'll just text that. So younger. So let us summarize everything. Okay, let us summarize all the sub things that the sub themes that we've. So from this, what we have gathered, I'm gonna get the text back up. Emotional growth as you age. Perspective. Being stubborn as you're younger with the fourth comment. Short minded. Cultural parental overprotection. Prevention of personal growth. when you're young. Okay, so now that I have put the sub themes on, you can see how many things that we can talk about that would make a really hearty essay. Okay, so how do I even get better at improving my brain, right? How to come up with ideas. First, you have to get comfortable with your own ideas. When you are practicing section 2, or even when you're talking to your friends, I want you to get comfortable in your thoughts. Be aware of your opinions. Say, this is what I believe in, this is why I believe in it, and this is why I'm writing or speaking about it. Start getting comfortable in your own mind, and you will naturally realize that you have more ideas and opinions than you are immediately aware of. The next thing is invest in philosophy. Can't emphasize this enough. Philosophy and psychology and history, they're your best friends. They're going to make any point you have stronger. They're going to give you credibility. They're going to give you humility. And it's also going to show that you have really invested in what you believe in. All right, I hope that was helpful and that we learned a little something. If we have any questions or feedback, please do let me know. I am here to help. But otherwise, happy studying, everyone, and bye for now. Okay, take care.